behind old coats and a toolbox, like you might hide a bad dream. In the morning, it was gone. We found it by the back door, wheels facing the yard. Then came the lights. The first time I thought it was lightning, just a flicker in my peripheral vision as I stood at the kitchen sink after midnight, staring out into the darkness the way you do when you can't sleep and don't want to wake anyone with your crying. A faint glow near the barn. Soft, flickering, not quite white, not quite any color at all. I blinked. It faded. When I stepped onto the porch, the night was still. Crickets, wind, the barn hunched in its usual shape. I almost convinced myself I was seeing things. But then it happened again. And again. Sometimes it was like someone had laid lanterns in a circle behind the barn. Other times it was just one small light, pulsing like a heartbeat. It never spread, never reached the house. It stayed where he had walked with that box. My husband stopped going out there after dark. He'd close the curtains, turn up the radio a little louder, pretend not to notice the way my eyes kept drifting to the window. "You know it's probably swamp gas," he said once, even though we didn't have a swamp. The laughter started in early autumn. Soft at first, little bubbles of sound that rose and fell so quickly I thought they were in my head. Children's laughter doesn't belong in a house that's learned to be quiet. It felt like hearing a song from another lifetime. I was in the pantry, reaching for flour, when I heard it clearly for the first time. A small giggle. The exact sort a 5-year-old makes when he's trying to hide, but his joy leaks out anyway. The afternoon was ordinary. Sunlight on the fence, a crow on the fence post, the wind tugging gently at the laundry on the line. But in the dirt just beyond the porch steps, I saw something. A red soldier, standing upright, half turned toward the barn. We had buried that one too. The ground began to change shortly after that. It started as a subtle rise. You know how Earth looks when a mole's been touched? A small swelling,
under a
like
shower
the
of
land has
marigolds
taken
when
a
he
breath.
froze at I do.
Behind the
hall
barn,
went silent.
near where
And
my
then
husband
my phone
confessed
rang.
he'd
An
buried the
unknown number
toys,
on
the
I answered on
soil
instinct.
began
A
to
gravelly
bulge.
voice said, "Is
At
Ion
first,
with you?
we
Tell
blamed
him
tree
Kadir
roots,
wants his money,
frost,
or I walk
anything
into your
normal.
wedding and collect."
But over
I'm
days, the
Sana.
hump grew.
I never thought my
Not
wedding day
high,
would start like
just
this.
wrong,
Heart sprinting,
too
hands
even,
ice cold,
too centered.
1,000 eyes watching.
At night, when the
Ion
strange
and
light
I met
flickered,
2 years ago
it seemed to come
outside
from
a coffee
underneath
shop.
that swelling
Both of us
ground,
late,
like
both
a
of us
lamp under a
laughing,
thin
like it
blanket.
meant fate was
My
patient.
husband stopped talking about it. So did I. We did that thing long-married couples do when they're scared. We pretended the thing didn't exist, hoping the silence would smother it. It didn't. The first message came on a Sunday morning. We woke to the sound of something plastic rolling across the wooden floor in the hallway. Clack, clack, clack. My husband reached for the bat we kept near the bed, old habits from leaner, rougher years. He pulled on his jeans, opened the door slowly. I followed, heart banging in my throat. In the hallway, the toy cars were lined up in a perfect row, front to back, their little wheels touching. Red, blue, green, yellow, all the ones we'd buried. They pointed toward the back door. No windows were open. No one else had a key. The house held its breath while we stared. My husband's face went pale. He knelt down slowly, knees cracking, and touched the red truck with one finger. It rolled forward, just once, then stopped. He jerked his hand back like he'd been burned. "We're leaving," he whispered. Leaving where? I asked. My voice sounded thin in the hallway. This isn't right, he said. It's not natural. We should have done things differently. We should have... He didn't finish the sentence. I looked at the little line of cars, at the chipped paint that wasn't chipped anymore, at the way they waited, patient, pointing at the door like a word I didn't yet speak. It could be him, I said quietly. My husband stood up too fast. Don't say that. He never got to say goodbye, I went on, the words surprising me as they left. We packed up his things, we buried them, we shut his door. Maybe the land is just giving back what we refuse to hold. He shook his head, eyes bright in the dim hallway. He's gone, he said. Dead is dead. The house seemed to disagree. A faint laugh, that same bubble of sound, drifted down from somewhere that wasn't a room, wasn't the yard. It was everywhere and nowhere. We both heard it. We both pretended we didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood at the back window watching the barn turn into a darker shape against the sky. The light came again, a soft glow near the bulging earth. Not harsh, not frightening, just insistent, like a nightlight left on in a child's room. I could have stayed there, safe behind the glass. Instead, I opened the door. The air outside was cool, smelling of hay and distant rain. Crickets paused as I stepped off the porch, then resumed their song like I wasn't there. I walked past the line of toy cars, still perfectly arranged by the door. They felt like guards, or an escort. Behind the barn, the bulge in the earth was clearer than ever. The ground looked like something was pushing up from beneath, ready to break through. The light seemed to seep out from the cracks in the dry soil. I stood a few feet away, my nightgown brushing my ankles, the hem catching on the grass. "I'm here," I whispered, though I didn't know who I was talking to. The dark, the earth, my son, myself. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the ground shifted, just a little, a soft, almost shy movement, like someone turning over in bed. A small hand-sized patch of soil cracked and lifted, then crumbled down, revealing something bright underneath. A stuffed bear. His stuffed bear. The one missing an eye when we buried it, only now both eyes were there. The fur was clean, soft, as if it had just come off a store shelf. No stains, no trace of years underground. I sank to my knees, fingers digging into the cool soil. The bear stared back at me with its perfect plastic eyes. Behind me, on the wind, came that laugh again. Closer this time. Clearer. I didn't turn around. I didn't run. Instead, I picked up the bear and held it to my chest, feeling its lightness and the way my arms remembered the weight that should have been there. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "We shouldn't have buried you with the toys." The wind shifted, brushing my hair back from my face like a hand. For the first time in years, I let myself cry out loud, not behind a locked bathroom door, not into a pillow. Here, in the open, where the land could hear me. I felt my husband's presence before I saw him, the weight of his footsteps on the grass, the way the night seemed to lean differently. He stopped beside me, breath ragged, eyes on the disturbed earth and the bear in my arms. I heard him," he said, voice breaking in the middle. "In the house, laughing. It's his laugh. I'd know it anywhere." I looked up at him. In the glow leaking from the ground, he looked like the man I married and the man grief had made him, overlaid. "We keep pretending he never played," he said. "We can't keep praying everything that hurts." The bulge in the ground slowly flattening as if some long-held tension was finally letting go. The lights dimmed, but didn't go out. They settled into a soft, steady glow, like fire that had decided not to burn the house down after all. My husband sank to his knees beside me. For a while we just stayed there, hands in the dirt, shoulders touching, both of us listening to the night and to the echoes of a child who refused to be hidden under soil and silence. Later, when we brought the toys back into the house, lined them gently on his shelves, washed their surfaces, spoke his name out loud, the laughter changed. It moved from the edges of things to the center, from the yard to the kitchen, from haunting to something closer to Company. The barn stayed where it was, the ground behind it grew flat and ordinary again. The light stopped appearing most nights. But sometimes, when the air is just right and the house is quiet enough, I still hear the faint clatter of toy wheels on the floor. A small giggle. A reminder. You can bury toys. You can bury boxes. You can bury whole rooms of a house in silence. But love and regret and a little boy's joy, the land will push back. The heart will too.